The Unsinkable Dinosaurs. Why T-54 and T-55 tanks still rule. If you're into stories about iron beasts that refuse to die, you're in for a treat. This is a deep dive into the T-54 and T-55, the toughest tanks that keep roaring long after their debut. Hit that subscribe button on our channel for more gritty tales of military might, epic battles, and tech that just won't quit. Drop a comment below. What's your take on old-school tanks versus modern drones? Let's get this debate rolling. Now, let's jump into the story of these unsinkable dinosaurs that are still kicking but on the battlefield. The birth of a legend. Picture this. It's the late 1940s, and the world's still shaking from World War II. Europe's a mess, cities are rubble, but in the Soviet Union, engineers are burning the midnight oil, chugging strong coffee, and sketching out a tank that's going to change the game. Enter the T-54, born in 1946, right out of the Ural factories in Russia. This ain't just a tank. It's a steel monster built to dominate. Why is it so legendary? Let's break it down. The gun, a 100mm beast called the D-10T, straight from the Su-100 self-propelled gun that shredded Nazi tanks back in the war. This thing could punch through almost anything. Speed, up to 50 kilometers per hour. That's about 31 miles an hour. Fast enough to outrun infantry and flank enemies like a linebacker blitzing the quarterback. Armor. The front of the hull's got 120 millimeters of steel, and the turret's like a bank vault. Back in the 40s, this was the king of the battlefield. Fast forward to 1958, and the Soviets dropped the T-55, a beefed-up version ready for the Cold War's worst nightmares. The big upgrade? A system called PAZ, anti-nuclear protection. While the US was building bomb shelters, the Soviets were making tanks that could survive a nuke. Sealed hull, air filters. This thing was prepped for the apocalypse. They kept cranking these out until the mid-70s, building somewhere between 50,000 and 96,500 units. That's like a whole city's worth of tanks. The Soviets sold them everywhere. Egypt, Syria, Vietnam, you name it. They were cheap, tough, and hit like a sledgehammer. Why they're unsinkable dinosaurs. Now, in 2025, folks are yelling, tanks are done. Drones rule. They say a $500 drone can take out a tank like it's nothing. But here's the kicker. These old T-55s are still fighting in places like Ukraine. According to Military Balance, Russia's got up to 5,000 of these in storage. Sure, maybe half are rusty, but 300 to 400 are in the fight. And they've only lost 14, per Oryx, a group that tracks every blown-up tank. Compare that to hundreds of T-72s going up in smoke. Why? These dinosaurs aren't charging in like Abrams tanks. They're used as mobile artillery, big guns on tracks. Picture a T-55 parked in a trench, blasting from 2 to 3 miles out, where drones can't spot them. No fancy lasers, just classic optics. It's like your grandpa with a hunting rifle out shooting a tech bro with a smart scope. Tactics beat gadgets every time. The post-war boom. Let's rewind to the post-war years. The Soviet Union's clawing back from destruction. Their economy's on fire. Steel production jumped from 4 million tons in 1928 to 40 million by the 50s, per historical records. Stalin's 5-year plans turned a farming nation into an industrial beast. Factories like Ural-Vagonzavod were pumping out tanks like Detroit churned out Fords. One T-54 cost about 50,000 rubles back then, roughly $500,000 today. Mass production made of steel. The Soviets could build thousands while the US tinkered with pricey Pershings. The Soviets built tanks like pickup trucks, rugged, reliable, ready for work. Vietnam, 1975. T-54s roll into Saigon, crushing M48s like tin cans. Angola, 1979. T-55s take on South African tanks and win. These machines worked in deserts, jungles, mountain sand, heat, mud, no problem. Upgrades, old dogs, new tricks. In 1957, the T-54B hits the scene. Only built for 2 years, but it's got a new V-55 engine. More power, smoother ride. A cyclone stabilizer keeps the gun steady on the move. The turret's sleeker, no cheeks like the old T-34. Then comes the T-55A, better radiation shielding, sharper sights. In the 2020s, Russia adds Contact One reactive armor. Slovenia sends M55S models to Ukraine with a 105mm gun, like on old British tanks. Ukraine's T-55 AGM rocks a 125mm cannon like a T-80. Losses? Only 13 by February 2025 per Oryx. 2 T-54 3MS, 2 T-54 BS, 3 T-55S. Compare that to 150 T-90 losses. These old tanks stay back, lobbing shells like a howitzer while drones hunt flashier targets. The economics of war. The Soviets spent 2% of their GDP on tanks in the 60s, billions today. One T-55 brought in up to $1 million in exports. Egypt bought 800, Vietnam grabbed hundreds. It was power, steel for oil, gas allies. Per global security, the spare parts market's still alive from Poland to Pakistan. In 2025, Russia's war budget eats 3% of GDP, $300 billion, says Newsweek. A T-90 costs $3 million. Fixing a T-55? $200,000. Sanctions choke chips and optics, so they dig into storage. Military Balance says 5,000 T-54s and T-55s are stashed, but maybe 1,000 are battle-ready. They're cheap and they work. Drones versus tanks, the showdown. Drones are the hot topic. In Ukraine, Oryx counts 3,000 Russian tanks wrecked by March 2025, many by $500 FPV drones. But T-55s dodge the Reaper with cope cages, metal grills, and jammers like Pole 21. Old optics don't care about laser interference. Tactics? Park in a ditch, shoot from miles away, let infantry cover you. Drones can't touch that. Drones are hornets, deadly in swarms. Tanks are grizzly bears. In urban fights like Mariupol, T-55s hold ground while drones get jammed. Per the Modern War Institute, tanks are key for pushing forward. No tanks, no momentum. Infantry's just sitting ducks. War stories, T-55's glory. Ukraine, 2024. Lieutenant Alex mans a T-55A. A drone buzzes. He flips the jammer. His gun nails a target 2 miles out. The crew's in a bunker, the tank's on remote. In Marinka, T-54s roll as rolling bombs, packed with explosives. Vietnam, 1975. T-54s storm Saigon, M48 scatter. Yemen, 2020s. Houthi T-55s take on Saudi Abrams. These tanks don't quit. The future of the dinosaurs. In 2030, T-55s will still be around. Why? They're dirt cheap. Army Recognition says an upgrade costs $100,000. Peanuts compared to millions for a new tank. The future? Hybrid tanks with drone swarms, AI-controlled T-55s. DARPA's already playing with this. Tanks are like a trusty shotgun, simple, deadly. Drones are tools, tanks are the backbone. Ukraine proves it. Tactics win. T-55 shows old gear, used smart can still kick ass. Wrap it up. T-54 and T-55 are legends. From Vietnam to Ukraine, they've fought everywhere and keep rolling. Drones? Tough, but these dinosaurs are tougher. They save billions and outsmart the enemy. If this got your blood pumping, smash that subscribe button and comment. T-55 versus drones. Who's got the edge? Got a tank story? Spill it. Let's make this comment section wild as a battlefield. Catch y'all in the next tale.